to go. Well, we're going to win. The new Coke is it at Charlotte.
Well, the Porsche's no pushover, but the Jaguar's going to eat it for breakfast.
Everybody's been telling you that they're going to win this race. But let me tell you the truth. The 711 Mustang Probe is going to win this weekend here at Charlotte.
Of the Charlotte Grand Prix is being brought to you by Dodge, a performance revolution, an American revolution, and by the Stroh Brewing Company, brewers of Stroh's, Old Milwaukee, and other fine beers, and by B.F. Goodrich, makers of a complete line of high-performance TA radios, and by CNN and CNN Headlines, cable's most important networks.
In the beautiful rolling countryside of North Carolina, there is the Charlotte Motor Speedway, a unique racing complex. In the past 5 years, some $17 million has been expended to make this facility the benchmark for racing in North America. And good day to you. It's a glorious one as we speak to you live from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm Ken Squire. With me is David Hobbs. And today, it's the International Motorsports Association. The super slick, most exotic, fastest cars in the world. These are the Star Wars cars. The kind of cars that would make a perfect setting for a Luke Skywalker to fend off a Darth Vader, David.
Well, Ken, you're right. These cars have unlimited turbo boost and they have unlimited fuel. So the power output is round about the 750 mark. And they'll see speeds in excess of 230 miles an hour on some circuits, and here at Charlotte they'll be pulling close to 200 as they go into the North Banking. This is the most exotic racing in the world, and of course it's a tremendously healthy series, IMSA. We have a lot of major manufacturers down there involved, both tyre and car, and there's more coming. So this series is really on the way to being one of the wealthiest and healthiest in motorsports.
Our onboard camera will lie with the car starting 8th today, the car that won at Riverside, California, the BFG car, with Jim Busby at the controls to start the race today, and you'll be seeing action throughout the day in this 500 kilometer, 310-mile race from that particular car. Let's meet now the people involved in today's race. They're the real story of IMSA racing, and the man on the pole is one of the very best.
Well, down here now with Al Holbert, the pole winner. And Al, what's your strategy in this long race this afternoon?
Lead every lap. We've got to do at least one pit stop, most likely two, and we need to take good care of the tires. So I'm going to just set the pace based on the pace that I think it needs to preserve the tires. And if that means running second or third, that's what I'll do, unless somebody wants to get real far away, and then I'll have to chase them and change tires if I have to.
Being as hot as it is today, are the tires going to be very critical in the wear?
The wear doesn't seem to be a problem, but we seem to, our car and the way we drive it, I guess, seems to abuse them a little bit, and we need to pay attention to preserving them, not so much for wear, but just for heat.
Do you expect competition to be toughest from whom?
Well, of course, the Buick. I see what, Bill's starting, so that means John's going to run the long shift. Of course, the Jags, they go forever on fuel. So, they'll be there, make up time on our second stop. And, of course, the Ford is really unknown, the potential of that car. I think it's quite a nicely done car, and it could be a real surprise. So the Buick is the one that really we're going to have to pay attention to most.
Okay, well, over with that Buick right now is Chris Economaki.
Okay, thanks very much, Jerry. With me is John Paul Jr., the co-driver on car number 45 that's starting outside in the front row. His teammate Bill Adam will start the car. John was away yesterday in Indianapolis qualifying for the 500. John, I know this race is important to you. The Indy 500 obviously is very important. Is this muddling your thoughts a little bit about this weekend of racing here and there?
No, actually, I think it helped me keep my peace of mind and keep the frustration and the butterflies away. It really I got to jump back and forth, and I felt pretty good at both places.
Can you step out of one kind of car, an open-wheel car, a 210-mile-an-hour car, and get back into this closed car without having to sort of reacquaint yourself with the machinery?
Well, it does take a few laps, but they're so vastly different that it really is easy to get comfortable after 2 or 3 laps.
John, the Buick engine in your car has got everybody talking. It's in the front row at Indianapolis. It's the same engine that's in your car here. Is it right for this racetrack and today?
I think so. The straightaways are long enough. It's to our advantage. The infield is very slow, and we have lots of torque on the low end. So I really think the place is suited to us, much more so than the other cars.
A little bit about the race itself. 1 stop for driver change and 2 stops for fuel. Do I have that right?
Yeah, we'll have to make 2 fuel stops. Unfortunately, the thing has incredible horsepower, but it takes some fuel to do it. So that's the one problem we do have is going the distance.
All right, good luck to you, John, and your co-driver, Bill Adam. Now, up top side to Dave Despain.
Here in the STP Pit Communications Center today, we're going to be looking for the answer to the key question in endurance racing. Right behind us on pit road, the crews work on the problem. How to make the car live for 500 grueling kilometers. It's a strategy issue. How fast do you go? How hard do you push? Keep the car healthy and still run up front. Answer that question right, you go over here on the leaderboard. Answer it wrong, and you'll be down on the end on the attrition list. We'll follow the David and Goliath story of the Camel light cars. These are miniaturized GTP prototypes. They're lighter with a lot less horsepower. They have their own race within a race. 2 things set the Charlotte course apart. It's located within the confines of a stock car oval. From the grandstand, you can see every corner. Last year, this race had the biggest crowd on the circuit. And secondly, up there, turn 4 of the stock car track, the most difficult course turn in IMSA racing. We're going to take a tour of the course right now and see this 2¼ mile oval with Jim Busby and Bill Olson.
The GTP cars come off of the banking, come past the start-finish line at about 190 miles an hour. At that point, you apply the brakes very, very hard, pull it down into 3rd gear.
Car number 45 coming back on with Jim Adam. Now at the controls, there's the lead car. That's the Ford Probe as they come down through the banking for the first time. Second place car closing ground is Al Holbert. Al Holbert in the 14 moving up at over 185 miles an hour down into the hardest braking section of the course going to turn 1. Holbert moves up on the Ford Probe.
Well, of course, one of the advantages the Porsche's got is it's got much more cubic capacity than the little Ford. The Ford is only a 2-litre or 120 cubic inches, whereas the Porsche, of course, is a 3.2-litre, a much bigger engine. And right behind Holbert is the first of the Goodrich cars going well.
Hosmer and Morton, who won at Riverside, California, lie third on the field. And then there is a big interval back to the fourth position.
Well, it's a 500-kilometer race. By NASCAR standards, of course, that's not quite as long as they run, but on the other hand, there's a lot more turns, gear shifting, braking. This is pretty hard on the cars.
As we watch that lead Ford Probe, you've got to wonder what Klaus Ludwig is thinking about David Hobbs, because that is a brand new engine. We mentioned earlier there was water in the oil this morning, and they had to change that engine. As we saw, the engine change didn't get completed until the parade lap. Ludwig has quickly gone to the front. He's pushing the motor hard, but I can't help but wonder if he's not wondering about the reliability. Not only is it a brand new car overall, but it's got an untried engine in the compartment.
Well, Ford at the moment are absolutely desperate to finish a race. They came out with this type of prototype car 2 years ago with the first and the second at Elkhart Lake, and since then they've barely finished a race. So they're really, really anxious to finish. And I think you'll find they're running less boost than they would like to from horsepower point of view. On the other hand, he doesn't look like it now, does he? I mean, he's still holding on to that lead. But in the back of his mind, he really wants to finish this race.
Two Porsche 962s follow the Ford Probe as they go through the infield portion of the course. As they line them up now, Halsmer in the number 68 car runs third.
and obviously a pretty good experience for these guys. Bill Adam is still about just over 33 seconds behind, so he's holding station with those leading cars. Not making up ground, he's making up positions, and he's now up to 7th.
All right, here's the battle that's now developing. There you see the Jim Busby BF Goodrich car, number 67, second place finisher at Riverside, California, and he's closing a little here on car number 04. That's the Brian Redmond Jaguar V12.
That was Hurley Haywood putting a wheel on the edge there. And now we'll probably see it. They're just about to come out onto the banking as they go over this big bump. You watch it bump, see, right there. And this is where he'll make up ground on that Jaguar. He'll use the Jaguar's draft, just like the NASCAR cars do on this long straight. Plus, he's got more top-end horsepower, so he'll probably catch him up and maybe even pass him down this back straight.
That's the 5th place car, trying to close on the 4th place car, the V12. The XJR5 Jaguar now being driven by Hurley Haywood. Here they are out of...
Hurley getting just a little bit blocked there.
Just a tad.
By one of the Leon brothers, number 22. That's a Porsche engine March.
Here they are to that slow part of the course.
Now there's a bit of bad luck for the Porsche. The March got between him and the Jaguar. That's going to put him further behind because that's a very critical place, because this is where the Jaguar is quicker than the March, than the Porsche anyway, through this infield. The Jaguar V12, full 6 litres, has a lot of torque in this sort of corner, and as you can see, he's pulled out quite a substantial amount. There's just those 3 corners.
Shifts per lap on this track, would you estimate?
Oh, probably 15 or 16 per lap. Unless you jump gears. I always jump gears. I don't make all the downshifts. When I'm downshifting, I go to the list of 2nd or whatever gear I require, which sort of cheats a little bit.
Back with the leader once again, and you're seeing car number 4. That's the Carson Baird car, about to be lapped by number 7, Klaus Ludwig, the leader, and right behind him, the 2nd place car is Al Holbert.
Now that move there of Klaus Ludwig's cutting that corner quite that severely is sort of, you know, you don't need that in a 500-kilometer race, because that's the sort of thing that gives you a flat tire. You pick up a puncture, you bend a wheel rim. It's just not called for.
The leader in the GTL class, the Camel Light class, is just 2 cars up. You see that number 6, that's the Elsom car. And then the number 4 is the Carson Baird, Billy Hagan. Billy Hagan must be torn today. His driver, Terry Lamonti, up at Dover, Delaware. We'll give you a report of the finish of that before we're finished this afternoon.
There's the Probe drafting up behind that Chevrolet. They passed the Camel Light car. Let's put another lap down on him. Here's the Probe trying to probe his way past that Chevrolet engine Lola, which is going surprisingly fast down the back straight. Carson Baird holding him off for another whole lap, unless Klaus Ludwig can put one on him going through here on the brakes.
Carson Baird with 11 IMSA victories. And you remember him from his Ferrari days. Pulls over, and there is Klaus Ludwig with the Ford Probe staying out in front. Now Holbert will have to deal with that car number 4.
This may give Klaus Ludwig a little bit of a break on the infield here, although that Carson Baird car really close behind him as they come to these tight infield corners. The superior torque of that big Chevrolet V8 telling over the small engine turbocharged car in the engine in the Pro.
21 of 138 laps have been completed, with the Ford Probe staying in front, the Porsche of Al Holbert in 2nd, Halsmer is in 3rd, the Jaguar is in 4th, and there you see Brian Redmond at it again with car number 67 as they continue their dice further back in the field. That's the 4th position scramble that's going on. And Hurley Haywood in car number 04, the Redmond Haywood car battling with the Porsche 962, the BF Goodrich car.
The BF Goodrich car, of course, having a sort of street radial tire fitted to it. They look pretty like racing tires to me, but they assure me the design is based on their street radial. Now this is where the Porsche is going to pull away from the Jaguar. Once they get off this banking and it really gets itself into gear, it'll pull away.
6-cylinder turbo-powered Porsche beginning to get some length going down the back straightaway. The V12 Jaguar comes after him once again.
V12's got tremendous torque, very drivable in traffic, fabulous to drive on a really twisty course. It's twisty all the way.
There's the leader, and he's up to lap Collision's car. Here comes Al Holbert, who's moved around the Carson Baird number 4 car. Klaus Ludwig putting a lap on the Collision car. The infield portion, of course, his Chevy March, the Collision going to lap, or Porsche March, going a lap down.
So there's one of the things this is doing all the time is Klaus Ludwig's keeping somebody between him and his immediate pursuer, Al Holbert, car number 14, at all times. He keeps on nipping around people and leaving Al Holbert hung out to dry with some back mark between them.
The leader, Klaus Ludwig, working lap 23 here. Should be a little more than midway to his first pit stop. He's going to have to stop significantly more early than the second place car. We look for a pit stop from the 7-Eleven probe on lap 40, while Al Holbert says they'll stay out probably 20 more laps than that. So we could see a lead change on the pit stop, all else remaining equal.
To complete his 23rd lap, his car number 7, and it is Klaus Ludwig who drove for Ford back in the early 70s. Michael Kranifus discovering his talent and bringing him along after he had started with BMW briefly. Then he went to the Porsche team. There's Al Holbert looking for that win number 34. Will it happen at Charlotte today? That's the question that we'll have resolved at the end of 500 kilometers in the Charlotte Grand Prix. It is Ludwig still in front. Al Holbert maintaining the second spot. Then the BF Goodrich car runs in third. Jaguars are fourth and fifth. Jim Busby falling to fifth. More from Charlotte after this.
Play for the Charlotte Grand Prix. Klaus Ludwig continues to lead, but right now we're talking to John Paul Jr. John, your car started second, fell back there with a spin early on. What was the problem?
Well, from what I can gather, he got boxed in the infield there and ran off the road and spun it around.
Is there going to necessitate an early pit stop for you guys?
No, we're still going to run the same strategy. We've been doing the lap times versus Holbert, and he seems to be running the same speed. We're just quite a ways down, so try and run a conservative boost pressure and try and get the fuel mileage and come in the same time Al does, and hopefully we'll get a yellow and be able to catch back up and be running with the front.
Is it tough to wait your turn?
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
Well, he's got a long ways to go, it sounds like.
Well, Jerry, they pulled it within 36 seconds of the leader, and that car number 45 is now being shown as 6 overall. They've just passed Busby and Knoop in the BF Goodrich car, and they're closing on the 12-cylinder Jaguar of Tullius and Robinson, number 44 at this point. Dave Despain?
Strategy, Ken, would be something new for this team. They've not been conservative this year. John Paul and Bill Adam have had that car on the front row 6 times this year, and they've run it hard, but it's been a hand grenade all year. The engine has been pretty solid, but they've had a lot of other finishing problems. Their conservative strategy matches with the strategy of the second-place car. Al Holbert is going to try to go the distance as well on the fuel that he has here with just 1 pit stop, and that's going to be key. How many stops do you have to make to finish?
Well, there we saw Bill Adam. Here we see the leader now, the 7-Eleven car of Klaus Ludwig, who is about 42 seconds in front of that March Buick now, Bill Adam and John Paul Jr. But that's still not catastrophic at this stage of the race.
The Ford Mustang Probe, 3rd generation of prototype race cars from Ford, built by Zaxbyt of USA over the past 12 months, and in its second performance, it is now leading here as you watch it live on Superstation WTBS. The only car of its kind in the world, the Probe, another one being constructed now. This car will then become the Mule, and when the 3rd car is finished off, we'll see a regular team that will feature in prototype racing. Lynn St. James, who certainly proved to everyone yesterday her right to campaign with these, the most exotic sports cars in the world.
Well, there we saw old Klausy baby getting his tail out just a little bit there. Al Holbert stalking right behind him. This fuel business, of course, is becoming very interesting in this race now.
Battle for 4th right here. There it is, and there is the Hurley Haywood car closing in. Haywood moving in.
No, I think that's Bob Tullius, actually. That's the Bob Tullius car. Closing in on the 68 car of Pete Holzman. Meanwhile, Hurley Haywood car has gone on past him, and there he goes by him. You see that superior torque coming out of that tight corner? Whistles by him on that infield straight there. Gets in front of him. Now what he needs to do, of course, is in the next 2 corners, this long right-hand and then the left one following it. He needs to get out enough space between him and the Porsche to stop the Porsche, repass him down the back straight, because that is where it's definitely quicker.
Tullius in the Jaguar to 4th. And the Halsmer Morton car falls to 5th. Leader remains the Ford. Hobart Bell 2nd. Redmond Haywood in the 04 Jaguar running in 3rd overall.
Yeah, these Jaguars are tough to beat when it comes to the race. They don't qualify quite as well as the Porsches, and here is definitely not their type of track because of the long straights. There we see the leader again. Klaus Ludwig coming up to lap Bob Aiken and his Porsche, another 962, very popular car in this series. The best off-the-peg racer in the world. You buy it, it comes in a truck, you take it out of the truck, you put it on the racetrack, and you can go and win races. Art Stuck put that red Coca-Cola car that's just out in the picture now. Here we see it again. He put that on the pole at Sebring with a record shattering speed, and it was a brand new car. There we see Klaus Ludwig putting the lap down, and here's Holbert following close behind.
The second Ford driver is standing by with Jerry Garrett right now.
Here in the shade. Doc, how do you feel today?
Well, I could feel better. I have a little bit of a stomach virus, but I feel real good about the car right now. She's running like a top.
It didn't look that way early this morning. It looked like a real end zone catch to even get into the race.
Yeah, that's true. We had an oil pressure problem and a high oil temperature, and we discussed it with the crew, and they decided they wanted to change it. We didn't ask for that, but that's what they wanted to do, so they took a gamble, and so far it's paid off.
Well, what's the strategy for the team on fuel stops and for tire stops?
Well, he hasn't. I talked to the crew chief right after the beginning of the race, and he told me at that time he hadn't had a chance to work out our fuel mileage, but we're looking at around 40 laps. We may come a couple laps earlier than that, and then I'll get in. I'll do about the same, and then Klaus will finish, hopefully.
Doc Bundy, who predicted at the top of the program that they would be the winners today. Klaus Ludwig of Bonn, Germany, continues to have the advantage over the Porsche 962, being driven by Al Holbert currently, and Derek Bell to take over in lap traffic coming down into turn number 1. Klaus Ludwig leading in this Charlotte Grand Prix. Tremendous crowd out in the infield through the grandstands here in the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where next week it'll be the home of the World 600.
While we were talking to Doc Bundy there, we saw the number 10 Chevrolet March spin out as it went into the infield, but he didn't hit anything. He backed it out of the grass and drove off, and he's up and running again now. There we see the leader coming up to lap the Jim Downing car, the Jim Downing Mazda engines Camel Light car.
And that car of Downing's is currently third in the Camel Light. It is still car number 6 leading in that category. Charles Morgan from Conway, Arkansas, and Bill Alsop from Woodstock, Vermont, leading in the Camel Light Series. The second place car is Young and Jeff Klein, and Jim Downing is maintaining the third position.
You say Woodstock, Vermont, indeed.
Green Mountaineer.
There we see the leader. He doesn't come from Woodstock, Vermont. He comes from Germany, a very accomplished young man, incredibly good looking, looks like a racing driver should look. And just right now he's doing what a racing driver looks. Well, he should look like Derek Bell, I suppose, nauseating. And he's Klaus Ludwig's about the same, pretty nauseating.
31 of 183 laps complete.
But he keeps on putting his wheel on the infield there. I don't understand it. I'm sure he doesn't have to do it unless the handling calls for him to cut that corner a bit tight to make the infield there, because that's the sort of thing that can knock the edge off the rim of the wheel, let the tire down, and then of course you lose the race. There's the number 10 car that we saw spinning earlier on, just coming in for a brief check, I guess. Maybe he had a flat tire. Maybe that's why he spun. Yes, they're going to the left front. They're going to change the left front tire.
The number 10
and
car,
rear.
Jimmy Leeward, an aviator who still plans to set some records in aviation with a P-51 Mustang before this year is over. It's car number 10 now lying down there on pit road. We are back with the leader another time as we work the 32nd lap. Klaus Ludwig in first, Holbert in second, Redmond Haywood the combination for third, and the other Jaguar backs him up. Bob Tullius in the 44, then Halsmer and Morton. The BF Goodrich Porsche 962 runs fifth. Paul and Adam in the number 45 have run up into sixth. From dead last has come the Jim Adam car, that Buick V6, thundering up through the field and hoping to go the distance of 500 kilometers, 310 miles today. That's all. We have a spinning car just into turn number 1. One of the Leon brothers has looped his car, number 22.
What a surprise.
There he is, lying there just inside of turn number 1, car number 22. And that is the Chevy March, the Leon twins from Texas.
Not a good spot to be at all. Mind you, they're getting good warning from that yellow flag waved by the marshal. The marshalling here, very high standard in the United States. I don't know whether he stalled. There's the Jaguar swooping by, both of them. Oh, he wants a push. Obviously, he must have stalled the car. It looks to me like he might have broken that rear wing, too. It's hard to tell from here, but it looks a bit like that left corner of the rear wing's a bit deranged. He obviously wants a push. He had his hand out the window waving. Obviously, none of the marshals are too keen on getting out the road there and pushing, because they know they're just around the corner. People coming into the corner can't see them. There they go now. Give him a hand.
Getting him away, Al Leon, number 22 out of Texas. We'll be back with more of the Charlotte Grand Prix from the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina, live on the Superstation after these messages. Hey, live on Superstation WTBS, you're watching the Ford Pro, probing this 500-kilometer race for the first victory for this ultimate prototype sports racing car. Klaus Ludwig of Bonn, Germany is in front. Porsches are running in the second and now in the fifth positions. The Jaguars are running in third and fourth. Their big V12s rolling right along. Here is car number 45. That is that Buick that went all the way to dead last, making up time. Adam in the Buick March is up into sixth position. Car number 45 as it continues to charge, and it is closing at this time on Halsmer in car number 68, the BF Goodrich car. There could be a challenge for fifth position in the next few laps.
Yeah, we see young Bill Hamilton, Bill Adam from Hamilton, Ontario. He's a very good driver. They often put him in the car first because he's slightly more conservative than John Paul, and obviously the thing in this car and team is to try and finish a race, as is the car we see in the picture there, the number 7 Ford Probe, which is desperate to finish a race, let alone win one.
To Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center.
Again, as we to stop on about lap 40, so they should be the second car in. Strategy-wise, we're looking for a charge from the two VFG Porsches. They're both running very strong. They say they're not running the turbo boost low in order to conserve fuel. They are charging, and they're currently running fifth and down here in seventh position. Likewise, we're looking for a 40-lap range pit stop on the two Jaguars that are currently running fourth and fifth, and the conservative car out there, surprisingly enough, perhaps is in second place. Holbert says they'll try to go the race on one fuel stop. They're currently in second spot, with the probe stopping early. These guys are in the driver's seat for the moment.
In the National Basketball Association, end of period one, Philadelphia is back in it. They're leading Boston 31-16. Philadelphia 31 over the Celtics 16 at the end of period number one in NBA action. We'll update you on that throughout the afternoon. Live, you're watching here on Superstation WTBS, a battle for the lead as car number 14 pulls up and takes a shot. Once again, closing ground is Al Holbert in that number 14 Porsche 962, closing on the Ford, but not getting by on that long back straightaway.
But he has to back off as he goes into the bank. If you watch closely, the back of the Porsche, you see a long flame come out. This is a sign that the guy has lifted his foot, and I don't see the same flame coming out of this 711 car of Klaus Ludwig. It may be that that car is a little bit better suited in that banking, but Al lifted out there, and you can see the same effect there as he lifted out going through that corner, and that lost in the lead. He was definitely making a chance for the lead, but couldn't carry it through on that banking. And I think one of his reasons is being very conservative with his tyres. He just does not want to have a tyre problem on that banking, because at nearly 200 miles an hour, it could be disastrous.
Working the 30th lap here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Charlotte Grand Prix. Ludwig stays in front. Here they are back on the banking once again, and let's see what Al Holbert will do in trying to overtake the Ford Pro. The Jaguar team running third and fourth are just about 30 seconds back from the leader at this time. He's not taking a shot at him this time as they come through the banking.
No, he pulled out quite a bit of a lead on that lap. Maybe Al just had a go, decided he couldn't quite do it, and just decided to play real safe and stay in that second spot. Now, if Al Holbert only has to make one fuel stop, that'll be just incredible in this race. But he seems to have got the lock on fuel consumption on this Porsche engine, and it does make a tremendous difference. A fuel stop costs a lot of time.
4 miles per gallon. Notice on this number 14 that intercooler right up over the top of the car instead of further back as it is, for instance, on the Aiken car number 5, which is the way they're originally built. That seems to get the air in a little faster, gets it to the turbocharger, and he says it runs at about 2 degrees centigrade cooler, and he says 1 centigrade, this is Al Holbert, runs at about 10 horsepower more.
Now then, our man in the pits, Dave Despain, was telling us what a charge the BF Goodrich cars are making, and in fact, one of them's just being put a lap down there by the Ford, and Al Holbert's about to do the same to him. Here we see the picture from inside that Goodrich car, which is Jim Busby's car, and he's about to be put a lap down by Al Holbert.
There were many saying this morning that this car, either of the cars, the BF Goodrich team, were real potentials to win before the afternoon was over. this 16-inch tire they have might be the one that could finally bring it off.
Well, it could be, but Goodyear have got years and years of experience in making racing tires, and I think on a banked circuit like this, you need to have the best tires you've got available, and maybe the Goodrich cars aren't quite there yet, but that's a good shot from inside that car of Jim Busby's, and we see Al Holbert just about to not nail him in the infield, but trying hard to. There you see those flames, those telltale flames coming out the back of those turbocharged cars. Oh, there's a spin. There's a spin up in the high bank at the north end. It's the number 10 Chevrolet March. We've already seen it in the pits once.
Jimmy Leeward's car has spun and come to rest just coming out of turn number 4 of the Super Speedway.
Now this will bring the caution flag out that Bill Adams so desperately needs to fetch that 45 seconds back. There we see Jimmy Leeward sitting in the car. I don't think he'll be hurt. The car is definitely second hand.
Caution is out around the track for car number 10. This is the Chevy March, the old Bobby Rahal, Jim Truman car. Pace car is coming out. The car that ran at Le Mans and set on the pole back in 1983 at Daytona and Sebring lies in the center of turn number 8 of the road course. Jimmy Leeward having trouble as he tries to break into racing. Well-known aviator, holds some records and wants to go for a couple more. Trying this summer to break the 500-mile-an-hour barrier.
There's the leader coming into the pits. The leader's coming into the pits, but also Bill Adams already been in the pits and is changing driver. And John Paul Jr. is about to go out. Here we see the driver change on the Ford Probe. They're making the change.
Let's go to the pits.
Ludwig getting out.
Okay, Doc Bundy's getting in the car now. Klaus Luke's getting out. They're hooking up the hoses. Klaus has got one of those cool helmets on that keeps the driver's head cool. He had to unhook all that paraphernalia to get Doc into the car. We've got to get Doc hooked up to the same paraphernalia because he's suffering from the heat as well. Now Al Holbert's parked just in front of him. Al's in and out, and he's already made his pit stop. Derek Bell did not get in the car, so there's no driver change on Al Holbert's car. He remains in there. Everybody is on pit road now. Both the BFG cars right behind the leading Ford. Doc Bundy getting all strapped up now. They're cleaning the windshield. They made the tire changes. Everything looks to be in order. There's nothing wrong with the car. Everything's being locked up. The doors are shut. The engine's on. He's being pushed away there. There he goes.
There you can hear the sound of that little 4-cylinder. This is the Probe is a 4-cylinder inline engine. Popping and banging just a little bit there.
It stopped once and then they fired as they pushed it off.
Because it hasn't got very good torque right at the bottom end like the bigger engines have. There he goes. There goes the 67 car, the Busby car. That, of course, has a 6-cylinder flat 6-cylinder engine, so a lot more torque low down.
And with the caution car on the course, a major advantage for this Buick V6 to put it right back up in the hunt again, David.
Absolutely. We missed the pit stop on Bill Adam and John Paul, but they left the pits right behind Al Holbert. And I guess the pace car should, in fact, pick up Holbert as the leader. And it hasn't. Of course, it's picked up the Jaguars as the leader. The Jaguars are now the leaders because they didn't make a stop. There we see the Jaguars right behind the pace car.
That's Bob Tullius' number 44 that stays up in front, and Hurley Haywood in second. Here's Chris Economac.
I'm down here with in the Ford Probe pit. Lee Morris, the Ford team man, talking to Klaus. Klaus, a nice job out there. That last-minute arrival on the grid, was it any problem for you?
No, not at all. I'm more or less used to that, and I don't think it affects my driving.
And what about the car itself? Is it as ready as you wanted it to be?
Yeah. It should. Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
The car, that last-minute engine change, was everything that had to be done?
Yeah. Obviously, because the car was running absolutely fantastic.
Okay, now with the pace that you were setting, can you maintain that for the rest of the day?
I could.
Okay, he looks confident. Klaus Ludwig, the man who jumped into the lead at the start and dueled Al Holbert for the lead, seems to be quite happy at this point. Back to you, Ken.
Well, thank you, Chris. They've been averaging 116 miles per hour, which would be a record. Now we have a caution. We'll see what that'll do to that record as we continue our live coverage from Charlotte.
I think he's probably right.
Here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, question on car number 45. The car of John Paul and Adam was on pit road. The Al Holbert car came out. The Jaguars had stayed on the track, and the question is, did the Buick V6 go a lap down? That's the mystery. Scoring still has him in the lead lap. Let's go to Derek Bell, who's standing by with Jerry Garrett.
Derek, we think that you lapped the 45 car when you made your pit stop. Is that right?
I'm positive we did. Yeah, it's just one of those things. We had a good pit stop, and we got out ahead of him. A bit of wheel bashing went on, I think, as they went up the pit lane. But
you say that was a certain amount of relish.
Well, I'm quite delighted because it means that John Paul's got to go very hard to catch us up, and I know that he can't do that under the circumstances because we have the tyre problems the same as he has. But of course, who knows how many more yellows there will be, so it's still a long way to go, but I think it'll be very interesting.
You're taking it easy down here. Do you get a chance to work yet today?
Well, I will get in the car eventually. Don't think I sit here all the time posing like this. I know Hobbs would be delighted to think that I do pose, but generally speaking, I should get back in the car in a while.
Car number 45 is being reported as a lap down. Jerry Garrett, what about that story? They're having tire problems there that Derek Bell just alluded to.
Well, what about the tire problems you alluded to?
Well, yesterday in qualifying, I did about 7 laps at high speed, taking the banking flat out, which is round about, I guess, 200 by the time we come off the banking. It's pretty quick. And when I stopped after about 8 laps, we found that about 4 inches right around the whole of the right-hand rear tread had come off. And also the inside edge of the front right wheel had completely blistered and was about to split away as well. So just as well I came in when I did. The car actually stood up to it very well, but of course I don't think I'd have done another lap around the bank at those speeds without having a major problem.
Well, the tires you're running have got to be about the hardest compound they can dig out of the warehouse.
Yes, I don't know quite what I think they were used in the last war, but they really are very hard. And of course we need them for the banking, but the problem is we don't get the handling on the infield, so we have to have a compromise all the time. But we've just elected to go for the hardest possible compound we can run, and that's what we're using, certainly on the right-hand side of the car.
You're sacrificing speed in order to get that durability from the tires. What is the pace you're running?
We're running at about 1 minute 9 seconds, and I know we could run about 1 minute 6, 1 minute 5 if we had to. But of course we don't want to have to do that because the tires won't last. But I like to have a go towards the end if I had to run fast. But it's running very well at the moment, and the tyre wear we've seen and the temperatures are very good. The wear isn't the problem, it's purely the temperature build-up we get by screaming around that banking with so much loading onto the outside rear tyres. So much faster than any other car around here, you know, that normally run around here. So of course, Goodyear haven't had this problem before, and it's a different sort of banking to Daytona.
Situation that we talked about earlier. The BFG people say after their pit stops that their tires are wearing well, no blistering and no high temperatures. But then you might expect them to say that.
A story from Dave Despain at the STP Pit Center. You've been watching car number 44, and they've made a driver change. Tullius has stepped out. Chip Robinson was in the car. They are coming around for a green flag to get this race resumed. They'll go back on green in the 45th of 138 laps.
Just to allay the fears of the lay public out there when Derek Bell, of course, is talking about tyres blistering, this is not a problem of manufacture in any way, shape or form. It's just that these banked corners do present a very, very different problem. And the NASCAR guys that race here so regularly on much heavier cars than these, they have to have very special and much taller tyres, and they're a much, much stiffer carcass, but are very poor, of course, to race on a road course. And these cars are designed to run on road courses and not designed to run on this type of banked corner, and it does always lead to some sort of problem.
Al Holbert was saying yesterday that Goodyear developed a tire for here which had a softer sidewall. He said they were hoping to let the driver know if they had a puncture earlier with that, but it's created some other problems.
Of course, one of the other beautiful features about the Goodyear tyres that are used here in the NASCAR cars is they have an inner tyre, so if the outside one does explode, there's an inner one to fall back on. Of course, we don't have those on road racing cars.
We're coming back under green once again with Holbert and Bell's team leading the event. Car number 68 being shown in second. The VF Goodrich car, the Porsche 962 of Halsmer and Morton, with Halsmer now at the keyboard. Then it is Ludwig, car number 7, Klaus Ludwig in the Ford in the 3rd position. Redmond and Haywood in 4th. There is car number 45, which is being reported 1 lap down. He was trapped in the pits, and that car number 14 made sure he kept him there and kept him behind him as he came back on the course.
And John Paul Jr. sliding. Look at that black rubber he's leaving there off that back tyre as he swings it through that infield course. He's now going to try and pull back a whole lap on Al Holbert, which is going to be tough going around here, but he's trying hard, as we saw there.
In the Camel Light Series, Morgan and Alsop continue to lead. Jim Downing is running in second. Young and Klein in third. The Mark Pauly car is running in the 4th position.
John Paul Jr. leaving rubber on every one of these corners. He's really putting his foot down, and of course that's all very well. He can go very fast, but how long are the tyres going to be able to stand that?
Working the 46th lap, and the probe having to come from behind and attack once again and try to take this one back. Car number 45, you're back with this Buick V6 as it challenges. It's running toward the midway point of the race.
There's the Buick V6, but it's now in second. Al Holbert's shot by it. The Buick's coming into the pit.
coming down out of turn number 4, and he is coming into the pits. He is coming back on pit road.
Oh, dear.
That's too bad.
They have had the worst luck this year that anybody could ever have. I think they're going to change one of those rear tires. I think the reason he was leaving that rubber was probably because one of the tires is flat.
John Paul and Bill Adam. Bill Adam now driving the car. Hopping off the tank again. Changing the right rear, as you see. And this will keep him more than a lap down.
That is the worst possible luck, because they're going to be 2 laps down unless they get that car out of the pits very quickly. Cleaning the windscreen. John Paul must be wondering what the heck he's got to do. And Phil Conti, the team owner, just about in tears. The money and time he spent on that team this year, and they still haven't finished a race, let alone won one. And they've been on the front row of all of them. There he pulls out of the pits again.
But been on the pole time after time.
Absolutely.
Screamer.
Back onto the racetrack.
Of course, Buick up in the front row at Indianapolis this year.
A lot of Buick interest in this guy here, too. The Buick people here showing a lot of interest. And that goes back to what I said at the top of the show. Major manufacturers are becoming heavily involved in IMSA-type racing. There we see the leader, Al Holbert, having a really easy run now around that top banking, the north end banking.
Holbert and Bell continue to lead here at Charlotte, North Carolina in the Charlotte Grand Prix. Running in second place, Halsmer. Going third is the Ford. More from Charlotte shortly. Coverage of the Charlotte Grand Prix is brought to you by the Stroh Brewery Company, brewers of Stroh's, Old Milwaukee, and other fine beers. At the Charlotte Motor Speedway, it continues to be Holbert and Bell leading the event. Let's go to the pits with Jerry Garrett.
We've got Pete Halsmer here, and you've just come out of the 67 car for your stint. Now, how is the car for you?
68 car, but that's all right. Really, it's working pretty good. It's pretty warm out there, and that's a bit of the problem, and the track's getting pretty greasy. It's breaking up just as you go onto the bank, and you've really got to be careful with it there. But all in all, things are working pretty good. We're pretty happy.
Well, you've got something else on your mind today. You're third on the bump list at Indy. You qualified for the Indy 500. Has that gone your mind at all?
It hasn't been. I'll tell you, you don't have any time to think about it when you're out there driving. We get in that Goodrich car. We're just concerned about running that thing fast. I'll worry about that after this race is over.
Well, he hopes he keeps a spot in the Indy 500 while he's here today.
The BF Goodrich car, number 67, going a lap down to the Al Holbert, number 14. That Porsche 962 unwinds itself, unravels itself from some lap traffic, and moves back once again. Out well into the lead. Now here you are inside of the Busby car. Number 67, that is the 5th place car overall in the field, and is running 1 lap down as they work the 49th of 138 laps.
It's a pretty good scrap on the road. Of course, unfortunately, I'm sure that Jim Busby wishes he wasn't a lap down on that car there, the number 14 Al Holbert, Derek Bell car. We have yet to see Derek drive it, but they're all having a good race, and there back in 3rd spot is the Probe, now driven by the American Doc Bundy.
And he is 2nd overall. That's a lap car sandwiched in between them. The number 7 car right there is running 2nd, just a few car lengths back from the leader. And it has been a dogfight throughout the Charlotte Grand Prix between these two. The Ford Probe now trying to dart around Busby's number 67 and close up on number 4 another time.
Because Doc Bundy may not realize that 67 is a lap down. It's hard for a driver to know exactly where he is. He's probably got some information, but there we see the 04 Jaguar. Brian Redmond at the wheel now. He's snapping at the heels of the number 68 car with Morton at the wheel now.
Headed for that 1,300-foot backstretch.
I'll tell you what, Hobbs, you call it a good little scrap on the road. I'd call this a Southern-style, Grand National Stock Car-style dogfight here at Charlotte. Next Sunday, we're coming back here, of course, with the World 600 and that big story. But in this kind of racing, endurance racing, a lot of times a half a lap is a close margin. You got 4 cars running right there in a pack. That second-place man a lap down. If he can get around Holbert, get that lap back, could pick up a yellow flag, get back on the lead lap. This is doggone good racing. The fans are loving it.
In front, here he comes back to the infield portion of the course, and here comes Ludwig trying to deal with Busby in the 2nd position, and there's the 04 running in the 3rd position. Hurley Haywood is now in number 04, maintaining 3rd, and the front 3 cars about a 1.5 seconds apart. Is he switching for Brian Redmond in?
Brian got in the car, and Brian actually has got a very strange injury. When he was going through the banking in practice the day before yesterday, he suddenly felt a sharp pain like a knife and apparently separated the cartilage from his bottom rib. So he's out there now struggling around in this very tight fight, as David Spain has pointed out. There he goes there just into the picture, a tremendous scrap. So we don't know what pain though Brian's feeling in that 04 Jaguar.
Redmond now taking over in the 04 from Hurley Haywood and maintaining the 3rd position.
Down the back stretch one more.
In the Camel Light competition, they're reporting Jim Downing. And Mafucci, number 63, has come up in front at this point, and that has dropped the Alsop car back to the third position. Marsh Pauly running second. There's number 3 off the course in serious trouble. One of the Buick cars.
Ken Madron, Wayne Pickering car. I'm not sure who's driving this at the moment.
The Royal Crown car in trouble. Number 3 just lies here in the infield portion of the course with 51 laps complete. As they work to 52nd, this Buick March retires from the event.
Well, he's right in a very dodgy spot too. It's Ken Madron looks like he's driving at the moment. He's right on the apex of that corner just before they went onto the banking. So he's not in a really good spot to be. And I'm sure the marshals will want to get that car moved out of there as soon as possible.
Let's go to Chris Economack.
I'm with Jim Busby, the team captain of the B.F. Goodrich crew. Jim, there seems to be talk about the heat and the speed and the tires not being able to match the speed of the cars in the banking. And I notice your uniform here. Is that off the tires, those black spots and everything? Is getting you in the car?
You know, I think actually it's a combination of things, Chris. This is what you see on my uniform here is actually the track surface. These cars are so fast that they're literally pulling pieces out of the pavement. The ground effects combined with the downforce and the wide tires are actually pulling small pieces of pavement up, distributing it across the road, and if you get slightly off the line, then you're in what we call the marbles, and you wind up with a real skatey car. Also, I think some of the cars up and down pit lane are having some tire blistering problems. We are not having that problem, although we are skating on the marbles pretty bad. So it may very well be that some of the cars have tires that are generating just a little bit more grip than we are, and consequently creating more heat and blistering. Our tires right now seem to be real reliable, although they are a little skaty.
Why so many marbles here, Jim?
It may very well be that when you use an oval and combine it with a road course, the road course is used less. Possibly also adding to that is the fact that these cars are so incredibly fast and generate so much more traction than, say, a Grand National car in the banking, that we actually are lifting with the suction at the bottom of our cars, actually pulling the pavement up to us rather than the cars going down to the pavement.
Can you at the wheel feel, we hear the expression in oval track racing, the tires going away. What does that do? What do you feel when that happens?
Well, what you feel is, it's a very simple process. What happens is that the compound of the rubber gets a lot hotter than it works efficiently. And it becomes a little too soft and starts giving up grip. The feeling that you get when it goes away is you have to have a little bit more steering to get it into the corner, and then if you get loose, if the back end comes around on you, then a little more steering to correct it. So essentially all it's doing really is the heat in the tire is causing it to have a little less traction on the surface.
Thank you very much, Jim, and let's now go to Dave Despain.
We've got an interesting heat story here, too. Heat takes its toll on tires. It also takes its toll on drivers. We've talked about cool suits that keep these drivers cool under the hot conditions here at Charlotte. Here are a couple of guys who decided to run this race without cool suits. Jim Downing, John Mafucci in the Camel Light race. These cars have a 700-kilogram limit, and in order to meet the weight limit, these guys can't afford a cool suit. They got to drive without one because of the weight. Nonetheless, they have moved into the lead in the Camel Light division. It's a real Iron Man story. They've currently got a lap on the second-place car, and they are running one lap down to the leader in the bigger GTP division. Good run, good story for Jim Downing and John Mafucci.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave. There is the Jim Downing car, which is leading that Camel Light Series. Car number 7 has now moved around the number 65 car, put him a lap back. Rick Newt now driving in the Jim Busby car, and number 7, the Ludwig car, is closing up and challenging for the lead, and the Jaguar, they're 3 wide as they go down into turn number 1. The Jaguar beginning to show, and they are moving on a lap car as they go out of turn number 1. That's the Jag trying for the lead and making it.
The Jaguar being driven by Brian Redmond, showing some of that flair that he won 16 World Endurance races with over the last 15 years. What a tremendous driver, and driving just like a 15-year-old, pushing himself to the limit. 48, 49-year-old driver, and he whistled around those cars on the outside, just kept his foot right in it. Al Holbert will have to be thinking again now, because the Jaguar does have better fuel consumption than Al Holbert. This is for sure.
It's Holbert line second, and there is Brian Redmond. Brian Redmond now in the lead as they go up to the banking, and back to third goes the Ford. Redmond out of 2 years of retirement. After a scrape at Daytona, thought that he had lost his touch and elected to leave motorsports, and now is back, and he's never looked better than right there.
Well, he sure looked pretty good to me there. What a fantastic move, and he had made one the lap before. on the Busby Newt car as well. He'd gone around the outside of it on one of the corners, and boy, he's driving extremely well this afternoon.
16-year veteran. 8 series championships have been scored by Brian Redmond, now out in front. Of course, he won the Miami Grand Prix 1984, and his record is one of the all-time greats in sports car racing. 74, 5, and 6, the Formula 5000 champion, 21, 52 of 60 races, David.
That's almost as good as me. Definitely pulling away now from the field. You can't help but feel that Hulbert's still got more power in hand, and he may have got a lot of boost to turn in there yet. But Brian at the moment showing these guys the way around.
So there you see the battle for that second position as Redmond continues to lead. Brian Redmond has put the 12-cylinder XJR5 Jaguar into first place. Can he stay there for the finish of the Charlotte Grand Prix? Brian Redmond and Hurley Haywood combined to win Atlanta in 1955 in the International Motorsports Association. Now in the Charlotte Grand Prix, once again they have put the V12 Jaguar into first position. The Ford Probe in its second appearance has come back to second place. Al Holbert's car has now fallen into the third position. But there's the car that everyone is talking about. His last lap was an unofficial 121 mile per hour clocking of this 2.2 mile track, and this is well into the race. That's like a qualifying time, David Hobbs.
It certainly is, and that's as quick, almost as quick as they went the whole weekend. It's not as quick as the Porsches went in qualifying, but it's a tremendous lap speed. And Al Holbert's dropped back to third. Almost looks like he's going to drop back into the clutch of the 67. There we see the Probe just going. Here's Al Holbert coming around turn 1. There we see the 67 car back to the Jaguar in the lead. The Probe made a lot of ground there. Doc Bundy, who drove the Jaguars last year, now driving for the factory Ford team in this Mustang, making ground up on Brian Redmond. Now this looks like settling down to be a heck of a scrap for the lead.
Doc Bundy drove with Redmond a year ago when they won Miami as a team. There's that number 14 that was the odds-on favorite to win it all today. Al Holbert still at that 962 steering wheel trying to make up some time, but the big surprise, the 12-cylinder Jaguar, which many people discounted for not working with his long straightaway, 1,500 feet in the back straightaway, the 24-degree banking. Redmond has put it out in front, and the Ford Probe stays 8th position here of recent. And we see the leaders pitting. I think, do we have a full caution out around the track, David?
Yeah, we should. The pace car is out. Yes, there's the pace car on the backstretch. And there's Al Holbert, who's just gone out of the pits. I suspect that now Derek Bell is in the car. And they'll probably be able to finish the race at this juncture.
Pace car is in the back straightaway. Pace car is in the back straightaway, picking up the field after a serious crash. Both drivers able to climb out of their cars under their own power. You saw Bob Aiken walking away from his machine, first at Sebring in '83 and also back in '79 and at Watkins Glen in '79 and a fourth at Le Mans a year ago. But here today in the Charlotte Grand Prix, victim of a bad crash in turn number 1.
Now I should think we'll have a full caution here.
Full caution is on the track, David, and we'll be back with more from Charlotte in a moment.